You're listening to Last Word Radio, where you get the last word.
Welcome to the Fourth Line Podcast, part of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. This is June the 15th, 2020. With you today is myself, Carl, and Stevie Nick.
It's been a while, Carl. You're looking good. You look fresh.
I'm trying. It's almost time. I shaved recently.
Good for you.
You're growing your beard back?
Yeah, I know. I actually pulled up pictures from when I had like my real quarantine beard. And I was like, whoa, that was real Bushman.
Yeah, we did it.
We did the thing. How have you been? What have you been doing? Have you been leaving the house?
I have left the house. I went to my father-in-law's, which is about like a 2-hour drive away in like rural Alberta, and
nice.
Had a campfire. I was outside of the house for like 13 hours one day.
Wow,
which felt great.
It does feel great, eh?
Yeah.
And this last week I've started to have hope in the world again. Numbers are looking good. COVID-wise, we're in different provinces, so we're in different situations. And I'm in Toronto, which is crazy, but everything's been coming up positive the last week and a bit. So I'm in a good space.
Yeah, COVID-wise for sure. This weekend, Calgary had no increase in cases, like active cases.
That is amazing. We need some applause.
Yeah, I think we're in the 200s, which is pretty, for a city of 1.4, I think, million?
Yeah.
It's pretty okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, hopefully this means we get sports soon.
Hopefully. It's what we're here to discuss.
It is, and we will discuss that. We'll discuss all the things that have led to sports. What it has shown is you will find out why we're doing this show every other week right now.
Because literally when we signed on, Carl was like, we don't have to do a long show.
And you know what? It might not be a long show because we've got 2 weeks worth of news, and we'll get to all of that very shortly, Nick. Before we do, this episode of The Fourth Line is brought to you by Straight from the CPA's Mouth, a new podcast series created by CPA Education Foundation and funded by the Heshie CPA Knowledge Center. Alberta's chartered professional accountants or CPAs are experts on a wide range of topics and issues of interest to Albertans. Straight from the CPA's Mouth has discussions on topics of important to you. And I think right now, with all this COVID stuff, Nick, accountants and money people are more important than ever, I would say.
Oh, I would agree with that.
So whether you're a university student, a new Albertan, or a parent, you'll find something of value on this podcast. You'll find Straight from the CPA's Mouth on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or the CPA Education Foundation's website at cpaalberta.ca/foundation. That's cpaalberta.ca/foundation. What do we got, Nick? What does 2 week of COVID shutdown news look like?
Well, the NHL entered phase 1 of their return to play plan last week.
I think was it not phase 2?
Is it phase 2, the workout one? No.
No, that's phase 1? All right, we're in phase 1. All these phases. Everyone's got their phases. They're all different.
And they're all on a different phase. I'm pretty sure phase 2 is training camp.
Okay. Right, yes, you are correct. So we did enter phase 1.
Yes, we entered phase 1, where players in multiples of 6, I believe, can work out. It's very exciting.
So it means players are returning to their cities.
Yep.
It means that players are getting tested and staff are getting tested for the COVIDs. It means that players and staff are testing positive.
Oh, no. 1 week in and 2 positive tests, you said?
At least 2. I believe there might have even been. So for sure, there was a player with the Bruins that tested positive. There was a staff member with the Coyotes that tested positive. And we don't know. That's all that they've said so far. So with that being the case, and as per usual, they say, the player, they're fine, they're at home, they're doing their thing, but with how easy that was, right? These people did not know that they had it, right? And all of a sudden, boom. So a good reminder for all of us that you never know. Be safe.
Yeah, it worries me a little bit for phase 2 of the training camp and bringing a bunch of teams together into hub cities. Like if we're getting positive tests from players just returning to work out in groups of 6, like what is this going to look like on a bigger scale when you have hundreds of people coming together to make this return to play happen?
Hundreds of people, like in close proximity, right? Like,
yeah.
Again, players on the ice. I saw Colorado Avalanche had Nathan McKinnon, Philip Grubauer, Gabe Landeskog were all on the ice today, and just by themselves. They didn't even turn on the full set of lights for them, Nick. You know what? So that you're exactly right. Once you start having all these players together playing, I mean, who knows how many people Brad Marchand's going to lick between now.
Oh my God. That Brad Marchand licking thing, like, this is that would never happen now. Never.
Can you imagine the fine? I don't know what the fine is for licking someone during a pandemic, but it's got to be big. You're kicked out of the game, you're suspended the rest of the playoffs, and then some.
Yeah. that would be terrible.
Yeah. You can't, Burrow's biting fingers, you can't put anything of another player in your mouth.
Yeah, just keep your mouth away from other players.
Yeah. That seemed like a good rule before.
Yeah. But it's like a whole other level now.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of things are a whole other level. Like even just the idea of shaking somebody's hand or pushing buttons in an elevator.
I mean, are we still going to have handshake lineups at the end of series?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Interesting. Is Gary going to be able to hand the Stanley Cup to somebody?
With Lysol wipes.
He's got it now. Like he has his gloves on. He's got his mask on.
100%. That's like it's going to look so weird.
Yeah.
And a lot of that stuff's going to just be for show, but they're going to do it. He's going to be wearing gloves, a mask.
Can we use that technology that they used to like hologram Tupac at Coachella a few years ago to hologram Gary Bettman onto the ice?
Who will boo him if there's no fans there?
The opposing team. The players will be booing him.
You know, I did think about this yesterday, actually, when I was reading about some of this stuff. Like, what is it going to be like for a team to celebrate the Stanley Cup victory and hoist the Stanley Cup to an empty arena?
Right. It's going to be weird.
It's going to be so weird. Like, last year they had those, like, weird sparkler fireworks things behind Alex Pietrangelo when he got the Stanley Cup. Like, are they going to do that this year? There's not going to be anybody there. What's the point of doing it?
Yeah. Just, well, and can't, like, I mean, I joked about Gary not being able to, like, but, like, the players aren't going to are they going to, like, win the cup, put on their mask so that they can hand around a trophy?
Are they going to kiss it? Like, that seems kind of gross now.
Yeah. I mean, in theory, they've all been tested and none of them have it. So, in theory, they're fine.
I guess they're all sitting beside each other in the locker room anyways.
On that, I mean, there's no extra space on those benches.
No.
But there we go. So players are on. They set the date July 10th is the opening of training camp. So we're, 25 days away.
Yeah, of course. And with the caveat of like, hey, this isn't 100% commitment, but this is the date we're aiming for.
Yeah. Well, and I saw, from the Calgary perspective, there is talk, and I think a lot of teams are going to have this, of waiting to find out where their hub city is going to be before holding camp. Because if you have to bring all these players from overseas, from the U.S. up into Canada, and then back across to the US. That just causes so many headaches. So likely these teams are going to hold camp in the country they're playing in.
Which makes sense. I mean, set the hub cities and then get everyone to where they're like, if they're going to spend 2 or 3 months there or whatever it is already, you might as well throw in the training camp.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think you can hold camp maybe in that city, but you can go to, I mean, I don't know what kind of rules there are in that area, but none of the California teams are using their arenas for hockey. So
yeah,
you can head over there. You can do that. One thing that I thought, how much more equipment do you think they're going to have to bring down with them? Because like normally you're like, all right, I'm going on a road trip. If it's a long trip, it's like maybe 2 weeks, maybe a week. When you're going down there and like you're holding camp, you're holding all these things, how much more stuff do you think teams and players are going to be bringing with them?
I don't know. I would kind of think they're probably not going to bring any of their stuff. I mean, the players will bring their hockey equipment, but I think any of the like training or gym equipment, they'll probably strike deals with facilities wherever they want to hold their training camp to provide all that stuff.
Yeah.
Instead of hauling it all there, like find a place there that has it.
For sure. Yeah. I'm not thinking like bikes and stuff like that, but I'm just thinking to head down there and I mean, normally you buy all the stuff you need for a season, all this, right?
Yeah.
You have that, right? You think, all right, how many sticks do I need to bring for this trip? All of a sudden, you're bringing all the sticks, right?
Yeah.
So rent a truck, drive that U-Haul. I look forward to seeing Connor McDavid driving the Oilers U-Haul from Edmonton down to Vegas.
He would too. He's such a good boy.
I mean, it's that leadership quality he has in him.
It's like, if my team needs it, I'll do it for them.
We're pinching pennies here. Revenue's short. And this is I'm getting gas mileage on this. They told me to put it on my own card. I'm getting points. It's going to be great.
That's fantastic. But can we talk about these hub cities?
Yeah, let's do it.
So Vegas apparently is going to be one. That was kind of leaked, I guess, last week.
Yeah. And they've been rumored to be one of them, trying to vie for that for sure.
And as for the second one, is still up in the air. I read an article today that basically said it's really going to come down to what the Canadian government, like which regulations the government relaxes on to allow the NHL and the players into the country.
Right.
Because right now they're saying you guys can come in, but you have to self-isolate for 14 days before you can go join your team or go to the arena or hotel or whatever it is, right? And I think the NHL is trying to get around that. And if they can work something out with the government, it's likely going to be in Toronto, Edmonton, or Vancouver are the three options in Canada.
And so they're sitting with just 2 hub cities. Is that correct? That's their plan?
Yes, they've moved to just 2.
So that would be, I mean, interesting to say the least. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter times of these, but the fact of like 3 of those cities, or 2 of the 3 you mentioned are out west, right?
Yeah.
So to have, Vegas and another Western Conference city. But when there's no fans, you don't have to worry about the schedules of the fans. You start the 7 o'clock game. It'll be 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock local time. And you just go.
It's like they do with the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
It's a weird time for the players to be playing, but it ends up being prime time on the East Coast.
Right.
Where it really matters.
Yeah. And I think that you are going to have, players are going to have to, it'll be a weird schedule anyways.
Yeah.
Like, players are going to have to adjust to that. I'm not sure how much you're going to even be able to have, pregame skates and things like that with the lack of facilities, right? Like,
yeah,
having to share ice, having to sanitize things, right? To be able to do that. I'm not sure how much, if you're having a tournament in Las Vegas, Nevada in August, I'm not sure how much you want people on the ice. I think you want to keep that nice and crisp.
Yeah, I would think so. And I think there's going to be games happening all day, which actually, when I was thinking about it, led me to believe that the only fans in the stands watching are going to be the players of the other teams. We'll probably be watching these games live.
Yeah.
Which I think will be really interesting because now the quote unquote fans have a lot of skin in the game.
Absolutely.
So, you want to hear about what some of the other cities are that they're considering?
I do.
Okay. So I mentioned Edmonton, Vancouver, Toronto as the Canadian options. I think it'll be Toronto if they figure something out with the government. The other cities are Chicago, Columbus, Dallas, Los Angeles, Minneapolis, and Pittsburgh.
So of those, I believe Illinois had the fewest new cases in the country over this last week. So from a health standpoint, Chicago seems like a good choice.
Yeah. Well, I know Texas got hit pretty hard. Minneapolis doesn't really feel like a good place to do this right now, considering, the political climate down there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pittsburgh, I don't really know how Pennsylvania is doing. I don't really know how California is doing. Ohio seemed to be way ahead of this thing when it got started, but I don't know if they got hit by a second wave or not.
Yeah, I think so from the perspective of those states, I think any of them could be fine. It seems odd to be picking cities that don't have a team in this.
Which of these cities don't have a team?
What was the California city?
Los Angeles.
The Kings aren't in it.
Oh, you. Okay, I'm misunderstanding you. Aren't in they're not playing.
Right.
I thought you meant these cities don't have NHL teams.
Yeah. I get that fans aren't there. It's all kind of irrelevant, but it just seems like an interesting choice to pick a city that the team's not even playing in it.
Well, you know why? Because I think what they're anticipating is they have to put all these players and staff in a bubble, and these guys are not allowed to leave this, quote unquote bubble of hotels to the arena, whatever it is. And I think they anticipate the rest of the world around them starting to open up at various times throughout this 2 to 3 month period. And these players are going to start to see people having fun all over the world. So they want to put them in cities and areas where there are lots of leisure options for them in downtime. Things like golf courses and swimming pools. And it's the way that they described the Vegas thing is they were picking a hotel that was the closest hotel to the arena, and the street, the main path from the hotel to the arena, would be completely shut down to the public, and the NHL would kind of operate all the bars and restaurants and facilities in that kind of tunnel from hotel to arena, and that ends up being the bubble for the players.
Which is Vegas, for that reason, if you can get a hotel to sign on to that, it's brilliant for them, right? Because you've got a dozen restaurants in these hotels, right? You've got options,
yeah.
You've got shuttles to various facilities, like you said, golf, et cetera, right? So from that perspective, Vegas is great. If you got folks leaving the bubble, Vegas is the worst option.
All of these cities are the worst option. That's my counterpoint to all this. I get that, you're isolating the players and they're going to be isolated from the world, and that's going to be hard on them. But also, you're putting them in the most densely populated cities in the continent.
Right.
Which is why I hate the idea of Toronto. It's so densely populated downtown.
Yeah. Sure, Winnipeg might not have an airport, and it is filled with mosquitoes in the summer, but they also have had 0 cases there.
Yeah.
For a long while. And it seems like a pretty safe choice. Now, maybe maybe for that reason, the city's like, no, we don't want hundreds of people to roll in here from a different spot. So
from all over the world. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's ever going to be a perfect zero risk situation for this. There's always going to be a little bit of risk involved.
Yeah. One thing that I am grateful for, though, as we sit here and watch Major League Baseball argue and bicker about money and how to get back to play, not even like the logistics of it, just who is going to make how much money from this mess of a season. One, I'm grateful that we'll be able to finish this season. Moving forward into next season, and then towards the CBA expiring the year after that, does not make me excited for this off season that we're going to have here, because it's going to be messy.
Yeah, sure is. Short and messy.
So, but hey, we will get players. Are you going to be like, how tuned in are you going to be to training camps?
I don't know. I don't really care that much. Like they're just working out and warming up for the play-in. Like I don't know. There's not going to be any media there. It's not like there's going to be press scrums or anything. Like,
yeah,
I think it's going to be pretty boring and pretty quiet.
You'll sit these guys down in front of a Zoom call at the end of the day and do
God.
their press.
I can't watch these Zoom calls with the players. It's too cringy.
Well, you're gonna get some, because I feel like that's how interviews are gonna happen.
I know, but here's the thing though, like normal people, when they get onto a Zoom call, like the awkward dial is turned up by 10. NHL players in front of a regular camera normally are already like, the awkward dial's turned up to like 20. So now we're going to add a Zoom interview. It's going to be turned up another 10 notches.
Yeah. It's going to be great. We're going to get even less out of players over a Zoom call.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be interesting. But what are you going to have? Like just some guy walking around the locker room with his cell phone doing Zoom interviews?
Just the PR guy.
Yeah, the PR, the media intern. It's like, all right, here's your phone. Have at her.
Yeah, it's going to be weird.
It's going to be weird, but we are going to have hockey. Fingers crossed that this can happen. This is how desperate we are for news, Nick. Ryan Reeves of the Vegas Golden Knights signed a contract extension today.
Oh boy, when I saw that, did my ears perk up?
Ooh, a contract.
Ooh, a contract.
So, 2 years, $1.75 million. With what Ryan Reeves brings to this team, which is like a very particular skill set, right? Like he's never been a big scorer.
No.
Even if you go all the way back to his like WHL career, his peak was 15 goals. And it's not even like that he's much like, as the enforcer role has died, his like fights have died off. You know, he's not that kind of a role, but he certainly takes on a different role with this team. Vegas obviously wanted to keep him though.
For that price, like you said, his role is largely, I don't know, how would you say it? Like momentum based, I guess. Like he's a big voice. He's very energetic. At that price, if he gets the guys going, it doesn't hurt.
No, and that's the kind of a deal. It's short, it's cheap. That even if it doesn't work out and they have to bury that contract, it's not going to really hurt them, right? So
yeah, it's not the end of the world.
So from that perspective, and the Knights do have a lot of this team already locked up moving forward, right? Like for guys moving into next year, they're all coming back except for obviously Robin Lehner from the Detroit deadline.
Yeah. I mean, their roster's set pretty much.
Yeah. Which, did you remember that Robin Lehner was a Golden Knight?
I didn't, no. Honestly, the trade deadline is like gone from my memory.
Yeah. We will have to, as we get closer, I mean, there's no point in doing it now because we'll all forget again by the time camp opens and we'll start these things up. But as we get later into July, we'll definitely go back through, remind you of what happened at the trade deadline, and then and talk about that. So yeah, Robin Lehner, Vegas Golden Knight.
Revisiting the 2020 NHL trade deadline 8 months later.
So let's go back for a second. Because one thing that I'm curious about with the broadcast and the games, right? We talked about like games will happen when they need to happen for the broadcast. This whole thing is being done just for television, right? This is a made-for-TV event in the biggest way possible.
Yes.
Like all sports that are happening right now are.
Yes.
What do you think or what do you want them to do differently during this?
I think let the broadcast breathe a little bit. Like, I think this is a good opportunity for them to show us what the game, like what actually happens during the game at ice level. It's not an experience that a lot of fans really get to see or really understand. And I think this is a good opportunity for them to bring that to life a little bit.
Yeah. One thing that I've been seeing used in motorsports a lot is, and I mean, they're having to do it even faster. They're doing a lot of drone work because, again, there's no fans to have to worry about a drone crashing into.
Yeah.
And we see them flying stupid little blimps all around the arenas at intermission. So that's one thing that I want, right? I want you to be able to, whatever it takes for you to get a drone that can skate as fast as Connor McDavid, get one and chase him down the ice. And I want to be able to see that through the boards. I want to be able to see what is happening at that speed. And I think that's going to give, like you said, that look and that glimpse that people can't get.
Yeah.
They'll get that.
Yeah. Where do you stand on them pumping crowd sounds through the speakers?
I don't want it.
I don't want it either.
I don't want it at all. I mean, the players probably want it, but I'm pumped to like those on ice conversations that happen. I want to hear those now. Like we can hear those very clearly.
The ones that you can already hear when you watch a game that's in like Florida or something.
Right. I want those Florida Panther acoustics.
I think like the one you kind of alluded to it that the players wanted. I think that's one thing that's really interesting that I never really thought of, that we're all talking about what's it going to be like to watch the game on TV without the fans, but I think the players get a lot from the energy in the crowd, and they're going to have to learn to build their own momentum without that noise there.
Yeah. Well, we watched it happen even for an afternoon game, right? An afternoon hockey game is usually really slow, really sluggish, because the players aren't used to playing a game that starts at 1:00.
Yeah.
The fans aren't up for it, right? The fans they're drinking coffee. They're not drinking beers.
Yep.
And now to have that locker room DJ is going to be the most important role on the team. Maybe that's Ryan Reeves' job. Maybe that's why he got the contract.
Every team's going to need guys like him screaming and yelling and picking fights with the other team, like anything to keep the guys motivated.
Yeah.
So
will be tough.
What about, I don't know if you've ever been to a lacrosse game live, but they play music throughout play, like while the guys are playing. What do you think about that?
I'm fine with it. I like from a fan perspective, I would think it would be interesting, maybe just for the exhibition games even. Like play those without sound. If you really want it, do it. I'm fine, like do it between whistles even, like crowd noise, pump up stuff between whistles, the same that you would in a normal game, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think it should happen during play. And I think the players would like that even less.
I kind of think so too. Okay, last one. What about them turning up the sound on things like the skates on the ice and hitting the boards and the puck hitting the blade of the stick?
Well, I think that'll naturally happen, right? Because they have mics in those settings. They have those, right? To be able to turn that down now, I think might even have to be a thing that they're going to have to do, because there is no crowd noise to hear that.
To absorb that, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm excited to watch some of these games on TV. I really hope they don't just pump the building full of fake crowd noise through the speakers.
No. I don't want fake crowd noise. I don't want fake fans in the stands. I want the true fake experience.
Yeah, you know what else I don't want is like a third or a fourth commentator or broadcast person just filling the air with words. Because I do feel like they're already kind of stretched. Like they really stretch out the things that they talk about.
2 in the booth and 1 between the benches is as much as we need.
It's enough. It's enough.
And now there is not going to be, I think they've already said no guy between the benches. There is no broadcaster at ice level anymore.
Which makes perfect sense. I'm sure the coaches are thrilled they won't have Pierre Maguire pushed up against them on commercial breaks asking leading questions.
I will miss him asking Phil Kessel about his lack of breath. That'll be missed.
Oh, that was wonderful.
Pierre Maguire, what a gem.
What a gem.
Yeah. Well, Nick, should we head to the quarantine corner?
Yeah, let's do it.
Quarantine.
Each corner is to be a personal space.
God. New guy's in the corner puking his guts out.
Gonna quarantine me inside a quarantine? Really?
Rocky Balboa prays in his corner, the champ.
Am I still in quarantine?
Nobody puts baby in the corner.
All right, so this week we had 2 quarantine corner questions. One of them we've already answered. That's how good we are, Nick. We've already one of them was about Vegas and the hub cities and what should be another hub city, and we kind of touched on that one. And one of them has been something that I have avoided talking about until this moment.
Oh boy. What's that?
Here we go. This is a question for Nick Sagan. It says right there. That's not me adding to it. It's right there. Got your Twitter handle.
Okay.
How long does your hair have to be before you just give in and shave it off? Mine is getting ridiculous. Nick, you're wearing a hat, but I see things.
You want to see what's under this hat, Carl?
Tell us, Nick. Tell us.
Nothing. I got a haircut. I did it. I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take it. You know how long I lasted after our last show? Because I feel like I talked about it every time we recorded. I lasted like 5 days. That Saturday, I put a chair down in the middle of the living room. I took my shirt off and I said, this is a number 4. Use it on the sides, or just, I told her just to buzz it off. I'm talking about my wife. I told her just to buzz it off, and she's like, no, I can do better. So she buzzed the sides, and she actually like gave me a proper haircut.
Yeah, it looks similar to the usual Nick.
Yeah, and then like 5 days later, our premier announced that he was opening barbershops around the province. So,
well, you could have just waited another 5 days.
So the answer to that is 90 days. I think I lasted somewhere in that range.
Well, was that 90 days since quarantine or 90 days since your haircut?
It was 90 days since quarantine, but I got a haircut like, I don't know, 3 days before they shut everything down.
Okay. So pretty like 3 months is your limit.
Oh, my limit is like 4 weeks.
but in desperate situations.
Yeah, I lasted 3 months.
That's good.
Oh my God.
So to go to the question then, so you caved.
I caved.
What strategies were you using to bring sanity to yourself pre-haircut? Like in those final days, was there anything you did to make it more manageable?
I wore hats constantly.
To hide your shame under a hat?
Hide my shame, but also to like keep it off like my forehead and my ears, and like especially if like I'm at a point where I'm running every day, and
no one likes a bragger. But
listen, Carl, Hasn't been easy. No, but like I have to wear hats because the worst is when you're jogging and you just feel the top of your head going woof 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 woof. It's like a little Mario character pushing the A button nonstop.
Yeah, for those who can't see, Nick was making a hair poofing motion while he was making that sound. So I get that. So hats are key. What else?
Hats are key. I ended up shaving more frequently because it helped me feel like I had some sort of like control over my appearance and like my grooming. So I increased my frequency of shaving or cleaning of the facial region. Mm-hmm. That's pretty much it.
There you go.
I was running pretty thin on strategies, hence the haircut.
And for me, I am the same, but my hair can do even less than yours. Like you've got like hair that does. Mine is curly and like real tight, and so it just kind of like poofs everywhere. You're talking about running down the street with your hair bouncing up and down.
Oh, it's terrible. And my hair was so long that my neighbors, even who had never seen me without a hat on, because ever since we moved in here, I've been wearing hats because I haven't had a haircut. Even my neighbors were like, "Nice haircut," and I was like, "How did you know?"
They've been watching. Maybe close those windows a little bit.
Oh boy.
Well, the one thing that I do enjoy about long hair was something you mentioned though, is I like the hair over my ears when I'm trying to like sleep. It just feels like a bonus pillow.
Okay. I personally never got that, but I'm happy that you enjoy that warmth from the top of your head. I was starting to get the wings, the like hockey bro wings that come from under the hat.
Good. But you didn't get that far, so that's nice.
Yeah, no, I didn't make it.
How tempted were you to go novelty haircut? Or I guess because your wife was doing it, she probably would not have supported you. Or
She wouldn't have supported me. But before I answer that, can you explain what you mean by novelty haircut?
I'm thinking like, because I can imagine you would, with your hair in the state that it was, a mullet was quite a possibility for you.
Oh yeah, no. She wouldn't even let me, like when I shave my beard, she doesn't even let me just shave and leave the mustache. Like it was a no-go. And I was like, I'm just going to buzz my head. And she was like, no, I'm going to cut your hair instead.
When was the last time? Because like I'm one, I always go buzz. When was the last time you straight buzzed your hair and were that short?
Oh, I used to do it when I was in university. So probably when I was like 21 or 22. So it's probably been, and shortly after that. So it's probably been like 7 years or 8 years.
Okay. Yeah, a while.
It's been a long time, but I used to do it all the time because I didn't want to spend money on haircuts.
Exactly. Yeah. Here's a more important question. So, the official Quarantine Corner questions are over, but this is my own personal one. Last time, I think it was literally, this was the last time you'd just gotten your barbecue going and you had ribs on it. And that's the only thing you'd cooked. Where have your grilling adventures taken you since then?
Oh boy. I've done so many things. We've done burgers and sausages. Done sausages a couple times. I've done steaks a couple times. Veggies like potatoes, onions, all that good stuff. Actually, you know what I've started doing is in my veggie medley for the barbecue, I've started throwing in, I've never done this before, full bulbs of garlic.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Oh my God, it's so delicious. I don't know why it took me so long to do that.
Yeah, sounds great.
So
I started doing, so I've got this stuff. You ever heard of giardiniera?
No.
It's like an Italian, and I'm sure for those who eat it more or use it more, it's like it's a bell pepper condiment with like oil and garlic in it. Fantastic. What I've started doing is taking the oil from that and like using that on my vegetables.
Ooh.
So it's like a bell pepper, garlicky, so it's got like a little bit of spice, a little bit of garlic in that oil, so I don't need to use it in there, but man, it tastes good.
I'm getting hungry again.
You can always just go eat again. I mean, it's COVID times. No one's going to judge you. You've been running frequently, so.
That's right. That's right, Carl. That's also how I justify eating a whole bag of chips in a night.
Well, I'm going to go finish a bag of chips tonight, and I'm not going to go for a run. So, we're pretty much the same.
Pretty much.
Well, Nick, that brings us to the end of the show. Unless there's anything else you wanted to get off your chest, anything about hockey you think we missed?
Me? No. There's nothing about hockey. I can't wait to play hockey again.
Yeah, because was your season done already?
No. We had like 1 or 2 games left in the regular season.
And I assume that's just
canceled. Yeah, the arenas haven't been opened at all. I would doubt if there's even ice in there.
Yeah, that's. I know some of ours are opening back up again actually this week. So some of the facilities are using that as like their guinea pig for stuff. So
yeah,
it's interesting, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you can get back out there in the fall.
Yeah, I think the fall I'll be more. I don't know when I will be comfortable to go share a dressing room with a bunch of guys again and play hockey. But
yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, like I play like some rec sports in the summer.
Yeah.
And they're talking about opening up in July. So like start of July to crank back up. And I'm like, I'm torn. I'm not sure I want to.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just, if I'm not going to go to a store, I'm not going to go to a restaurant. Why do I want like to be within 6 inches of somebody else?
Yeah, I know. It's going to take some time, Carl, but you know what? Seeing the pros come back and playing some games will help. And as time goes on, we'll all get through this together and we will get back to our normal and we will play sports again. And that is my motivational speech for the week.
We appreciate you for that, Nick. We very much do. I know that might have sounded sarcastic, but it was not meant to be. Because we all need a little motivation sometimes.
Yes, we do, especially now.
Yeah. Well, Nick, obviously everyone knows we are proud members of the Alberta Podcast Network. And if you're looking for more fantastic shows, Alberta Podcast Network continues to get better and better and better. Fantastic sponsors, fantastic support, but also the shows and the events. I've got some information about some stuff that's happening with the network and some of the events that they're going to be a part of moving forward through the rest of the year, and I'm excited. So when we can start to talk about that, I will. But in the meantime, head on over there. If you go to the main page, it literally lists like all the categories of shows that you can look at. We obviously fall in under the sports, and I we haven't asked to be put under the pop culture section, but I think it might be time.
We're getting pretty close.
It might be time for us to no longer count as a sport.
We're getting close.
But there's fantastic shows talking about all kinds of things. One of my favorite categories is the stories and storytelling section, Nick. And one of those great shows is Let's Find Out, which talks about the history of Edmonton and goes into a lot of those things. If you go to letsfindoutpodcast.com, you'll be able to do that. And they've talked about so many different things. They've obviously, their last episode was on COVID and some of those areas. So head on over to letsfindoutpodcast.com and you will not be disappointed about the history lesson you will receive about a fantastic spot. You can find us at thefourthlinepodcast.com, at Fourth Line Podcast on Twitter, or mail at thefourthlinepodcast.com. You can send us in your quarantine corner questions. If you are listening to this and you think, I want to know something, I want to know, what does Nick put on his burgers? Does he make them from scratch? Does he add barbecue sauce to them? What condiment? Any of those. Mail them in. Tweet at us. DM us. Any of them. We will accept any means. If you send us a letter, we'll read that too. especially if you send us a letter. A letter will almost guarantee you're read on this show.
Well, we'll pre-read it first.
We'll censor your letter if necessary.
Absolutely.
But a letter will certainly get read. I think those are all the places. You can find us on all the podcast spots. Apple, Spotify, Google. All of them. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next show, Nick. Next show we do you know what will have happened already?
When's the next show? 2 weeks from today? Oh boy, is it what we talked about before we started this show? Is it the draft lottery?
The next show, we are slated for June 29th. 3 days after the draft lottery, we will either have the happiest or saddest Nick imaginable.
Oh boy.
Tune in, because that'll be a good one.
All right, should I sing us out? You completely threw it off. By the way, I had a rhyme prepared and you threw me off completely.
I did. Now I've made you sad and nervous, and I regret that. I'm sorry.
Okay, here we go. It's time for us to wrap up another Fourth Line show. I know what you're thinking. You don't want us to go. The NHL should call my wife if they need a haircut, because no one should have hair like mine when they lift the Stanley Cup.